this is Julia Valentine, founder of Alpha Mill. I'm here today with Alpha Mill's senior advisor, Anthony Carter, who has a long and distinguished career in public safety. Anthony, would you please introduce yourself and give us the highlights? Um,
Sure. Thanks, Julia. Thank you. I've been in public safety now for 30 years,
mhm,
starting with the New York City Police Department. I was a 20-year-old police officer, and I was first assigned in Brooklyn, and then worked my way through the ranks, ending my career in 2021 in the as the commanding officer for the chief of department's office. So, very, very lucky, surrounded myself with some really great people.
mhm,
Then I was the deputy police commissioner in the Suffolk County Police Department.
mhm,
So out here, Suffolk County, for those who don't know, it's the department's the 13th largest department in the country, and they serve upwards of 1 million people. So it's a small department in compared to the NYPD, but it is
mhm.
one of the larger departments in the entire country.
Right.
And then I was fortunate enough to serve as the head of administration out in Southampton Village. And there I got to meet and work directly for the mayor in the village. And Southampton Village is home to some of the most affluent people in the entire world. So
Mhm.
very fortunate. The experience I have in both physical security and digital security is really just through watching others work and being a part of seeing some of the great work that so many have done throughout the years in keeping people safe.
Absolutely. And I want to talk to you about the digital and in real life security. Because very often you've said that it's not enough to just understand cyber or to just understand physical protection, because just like in our lives, half the time we're online and we're posting, right? And we're creating digital content. We're having Zoom calls, we're sending documents everywhere. Um, and then obviously there's the executive protection aspect of it. So, can you talk a little bit about the principles of going between the digital and real?
Sure. It's a great point. And one thing I want to bring out is, I think that digital security and physical security, they need to coexist.
Coexist.
Uh, as time and what we've seen transpire over the last decade or so, and
Mhm,
now even more recently with the evolution of AI, digital threats are becoming physical crimes. And, when we talk about executive protection, there's a couple of pieces, there's a couple of myths that are out there about it. And I
mhm.
hope, in our conversations that we can maybe clear up some of the myths and talk about exactly what executive protection is.
Go right ahead. What is
All
it?
right. I would be more than glad to. So maybe, a common myth, let's say what it's not. A common
Yeah.
myth is that only celebrities and government officials, like high-ranking government officials, are the only people that need protection. The reality that we face today is that experienced criminals, the real professionals, will target anyone with visibility or wealth. And so, that being said, executive protection is for high profile, high net worth individuals, corporate CEOs, C-suite executives, as well as public figures, professional athletes, and really anybody that has, like I just said, the visibility or the wealth.
100%, because with the recent unfortunate event, the CEO of United Healthcare, uh, I'm based in New York City, very, very close to where this happened. And I have to say, this is very scary, very, very scary, right? Because he's an executive, he's a senior executive. He's not even the top, 1% in terms of wealth. And this is happening right in front of our eyes, and it's just awful. And it's exactly the case of digital threats to a physical attack, right?
Sure. Sure. When we look at,
Mhm,
so many different variations of digital threats, and what we're seeing is those digital threats, they're targeting high net worth individuals,
mhm,
right? So these doxing attacks, even virtual kidnapping,
mhm,
and when we look at deep fakes and other types of digital crimes,
mhm.
more and more are being targeted towards high net worth individuals.
And it's easy to get the list because they're posting, they're on social media, we can see where they're speaking, right? So
There's
like
there's so
information
much
is
out there. Yeah,
everywhere.
there's so much out there in the universe
Yeah.
between social media platforms and just anybody who wants to perform a search, and they can actually perform an AI search and say, "Hey, who lives in these who lives in, name a very exclusive neighborhood in this country."
Right.
And you can type it in and you'll get some names that of people that reside at those locations.
Mhm.
And that onto itself is very concerning.
And probably like a hyperlink to their LinkedIn or Instagram or some social media, which tells you exactly where they are.
Right. Within a few minutes, you can have a treasure trove of
Information.
information
Yeah.
about a specific individual or about a specific organization.
Hmm. So basically, we make all of this information available, and then you know, as you were saying that protection is not just about the physical world, how would one uh, pull together this picture, right, that has the digital and the real life? Is it strategy, planning? Like, what do you call it? Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you do this kind of assessment?
Yeah, it's all the above. It's really a convergence of digital and physical,
Okay.
right? The two
Mhm.
worlds coming into one to ensure that we reduce risk and mitigate vulnerabilities that we see by conducting proactive planning. You really talk about the reactive world versus the proactive world.
Proactive
And
world,
with
right?
executive protection, we have to be on the proactive side.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be conducting risk assessments and we have to gather as much intelligence as possible.
Mm-hmm.
When we do all of those things without getting into too much detail of what those specific things are, that's how we're able to mitigate vulnerabilities.
Got it.
And really, the goal is the safety of the protectee, as well as their families and their assets.
Mm-hmm. And would you, in some cases, recommend limiting the amount of information that's out there? Would you, in certain cases, say, like, do not announce that you're speaking there or
I,
that
you
you're
know,
at a particular
I
restaurant?
think that's challenging because we live in a digital world today, and
Right.
so much from marketing to strategy is pushed out to the masses. But what I do think and what I would recommend is that people just become very cognizant of what they do post, especially when it pertains to their personal lives, when they're high profile or high net worth individuals.
Got it. And what is that line? How do you figure out what should be kept away from the public eye and what should be out there? Do you have guidelines or thoughts on that?
I think posting information such as that anything that demonstrates your wealth uh, could be, given to given to put into the wrong hands is a great way of putting it.
Hmm.
And they could take that information and be able to action it, whether it be breaking into an individual's home to steal those goods based on what they had observed on social media that we've seen uh, occurring throughout the United States. And we're not talking about individual criminals. We're talking about sophisticated criminal enterprises and criminal
Wow.
organizations that are targeting high net worth individuals.
Got it. So, how does one go about hiring executive protection? Like, what should people look for?
That's a great question. You, there's no right answer. It's finding the people that have the necessary skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but my thoughts when we talk about what the necessary skill sets are, because of the changing world that we're in, people need to understand that the digital threat is just as important as the physical threat. And executive protection can't just be one, it just can't be the other, it has to be both.
Has to be both, right? And that's exactly the uh, integrated and complex approach that we use, right? Because we see this, every day, all day, every day, how one translates into another. So in the executive protection in the physical world, um, do you have any particular requirements? So do you prefer, for example, someone with former police experience, former FBI experience? Like, what are your thoughts on, what are the right skill sets?
I think the skill sets, once again, it's a team effort, and there's no one
Got it.
specific person
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be able to tackle the problems that we're facing today. It really is. It's a team,
It's a
and
team.
it's
You
going to
hired
be
a
a
team.
team of the right people that have the knowledge of the digital world and
Mm-hmm.
knowledge of the physical world. If that's people in law enforcement, prior people that are very experienced in cybersecurity and assessing digital threats,
Huh?
then I think once again, when you combine all of those assets, that's how you create a formidable team for the
Got it.
protection of, these high net worth individuals. And just one thing I want to add, when
Sure.
we look at the landscape just in the last year and a half or so,
Mm-hmm.
41% of high net worth individuals have been targeted either for a physical or a digital threat,
So
where they've
it's
been
roughly half.
victim
Roughly
to a
almost
threat.
almost half.
And that's high, and when we're talking about 5.5 million approximately high net worth individuals in the United States, half
Mm-hmm.
of those, it's over 2 million people that are being targeted. And that's something that we have to kind of get ahead of.
That's really high, right? Like you wouldn't, I don't know. It's shockingly high, I would say.
I think criminals they're getting more savvy,
Hmm.
and they're going to where the money is, and I think it's easier to target a high net worth individual than it would be to target the cybersecurity infrastructure of a major financial institution.
Efficient. Right, 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 right. So they're looking for where there are vulnerabilities, and it is kind of a family office is a as an SMB, right? Small or medium sized business,
Mhm.
right? Essentially.
That's right.
So you wouldn't expect as much. uh the layers of protection around it are not going to be uh the strength of JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, right? Or another large institution. So that's
Right.
the yeah, that's why they become the targets. Understood. Anything else that you would like to add? Any lessons learned or any interesting facts or anything that you'd like to kind of throw in the mix here?
I
Uh,
think let's end on a good note, and let's
yeah,
just talk about, for all the challenges that we're facing, awareness is the key. And talking about it is the first step, and that's what we're doing here today, right?
yeah,
So
yep.
when we talk about it, we think about it, I really feel that we're going to identify new ways that we can get ahead of the curve to protect high net worth individuals, family offices, celebrities, professional athletes, and anybody that has a visible footprint that needs some level or, advanced levels of protection.
100%. Please contact Anthony and I if you need any help. If you have any questions, we're always happy to speak with you. And thank you so much for listening today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.